Hi, I'm Mike Sigel. Welcome to the podcast show. I'm here with
Reed Pierce,
Kim Davenport.
I forgot their names. Anyway, today we are going to talk about the history of pool, the Pro Billiards Tour, going into the Moscone Cup. We have a lot of interesting information. We have these tremendous pictures of guys like Paul Sorvino, the players, the original. Now, this is the original organization from World Team Billiards into the Moscone Cup. Guys like John Laramie, Frank Jordan, Art Lieberman, Don Mackey. Don is over here. You're on camera now.
I am, I believe you.
He's the mean one. We're all good. Don started the original World Team Billiards, the format, the Moscone Cup. People don't realize that. They think that was done from England with Matchroom, but Don is the originator. You also knew Willie Moscone very well from Philly, correct?
That's where you and I met.
That's where we met. I'm not going to get into it. 85.
Right, and it was the tournament was proposed as the send-off of the great Willie Moscone in straight pool.
Yes.
It was the last straight pool tournament, as far as I know, that ESPN ever produced,
Right.
and you know why. You remember why it was the last tournament?
Yes. You want me to tell that one
Tell
real
that
quick?
story, Mike.
Okay, so here's what happens. I finished third in the straight pool tournament, okay, and the two guys in the finals were Alan Hopkins and Nick Varner. So the match started 8 o'clock?
No, a little later than that, 10-ish.
10-ish. Well, that's pool. Okay, so here's what happens. The funny
Race
story...
to 125 or 150.
150 points. Now, if you're not familiar with straight pool, they don't play it that much anymore in the big tournaments, mostly 9-ball, but you got to make every ball. 150 shots, that wins the match. So I had, in those days, the money was scarce, so the top players would take a little piece of each other, meaning I had 10% of what Alan Hopkins wins, and it just turns out I also had 10% of what Nick Varner would win. So when Nick Varner was shooting, Alan Hopkins would be sitting next to me and saying, "This Varner, he plays so slow, I can't take it anymore." And then when it reversed, Varner would say to me, "This Hopkins, he's the slowest player I ever saw in my life." And I'm listening to it from both sides. And at 5 a.m., the match was about halfway through. Everybody decided to go to bed. And I really don't even remember who won that, honestly.
You know what? I don't either. I think it was Varner.
Yeah, and ESPN finally looked and said, you know what, either get another game or we're over it. And that's what happened.
ESPN came to me, the poor cameraman. The guy, there was two cameramen that had handhelds, okay? This is at the Philadelphia General Hotel. It was a perfect room, perfect ballroom. It had a balcony that looked down on the table, right? So they had a boom camera, and they actually, I think, had 3 handhelds altogether. Now imagine holding a handheld camera. These are the big old ones.
Those big ones, yeah, I remember that.
Okay, all right, for 5 hours, okay, with no break, okay? The director in the truck was going absolutely crazy, okay? And, and it was the slowest thing I had ever seen. Now, we had invited guests, okay? And if you remember, back in those days, there was a famous, very popular TV show called Miami Vice. You remember Miami Vice?
Yeah,
okay?
Don Johnson.
Don Johnson.
And so the big After Six Tuxedo Company had come out with a Miami Vice line. Tim, you probably know about these.
Yeah,
the colored tuxedos.
I know about that one, yeah.
By the way, nice hat, Kim. I love that hat.
Yeah, well, I'm coming with the Russian look, so, time for vodka tonight.
Go ahead, Don. Continue.
So I got a front row of special guests, okay? It was paid special money, okay? These are some guys that, let us just say, they're the true, authentic South Philadelphia guys, okay? And they're all dressed up, okay? And this is a big event. The mayor was there. The commissioner of police is there. It was a great tournament, actually, right? It actually broke even, which was a miracle. And now they're sitting there, and this guy comes over to me with his Miami Vice, like kind of pink tuxedo outfit, and he goes, "Hey, I gotta meet my girlfriend." He goes, "How long does this thing go on?" All right, I look at the score. The score's like 40 to 30. Okay.
Oh, God, it was horrible.
All right, so and it's like 12 o'clock at night. Remember how slow? It was unbelievably slow.
It was Rusty Miller, this friend of mine that was a big guy out of New York, and he used to set up pension plans for like Paul Newman, John Wayne. This guy loved pool. And when he was in New York, well, that was in Philly, he had the balcony that was all reserved for him. And he'd do the Calcutta, and he'd treat everybody. If you were a top player, this guy treated you like royalty. He was making some wager. I'll just throw a number out, maybe $10,000. You know, it's like 40 years. He left.
Well, I remember when he did the Calcutta in Philly, okay, before the tournament. The Calcutta is always set up before the tournament, right? He did the Calcutta, and the mayor came in, all right, with the police commissioner. Now, all the guys are out on the tournament floor, okay, and they're practicing, and guys are bidding, you know, the whole thing's going on. And the mayor turns to me and says, what are they doing? I said, well, this is a very old tradition that we have in the game, okay? And I said, what they're doing is they're just, they're making friendly competitive bets with each other. Oh, really? Can I get in on it? That's the mayor. So I said, no, I don't think you want to. Okay. But the end of that story is, you know, Willie was there, Irvin Crane played in that tournament. Was there, yeah. Okay, you're from Rochester, right. Your hometown, helped you in your youth.
Yep.
Right? Willie had already basically handed the throne to you.
Yeah.
Right? Back in
there's a great
79.
picture. I don't know where that picture is. I hope you guys can get it.
We got that picture.
In 79, that was a great, in fact, we just looked at that picture. I forgot all about it. I was thumbing through. Where Moscone hands me in 79, when I won my first World Straight Pool tournament, Moscone hands, it was a big cup, you know, like that. He hands it to me. I mean, it was now as I look at that, you know, the other thing is with that, really quick, now it's just, I'm thinking of something. Over the years, I was lucky. I met guys like William Holden. That was the biggest thrill of my life. But in those days, nobody had a camera, nobody had a cell phone. All of that stuff going on, I met Ringo Starr, guys like that, never got a picture with them. I mean, I think about that today, it's sick. Trevor, you don't even...
That was a miracle that somebody caught that moment in 79.
I know.
Because it was so demonstrative, okay? I mean, Willie had dominated the pro game, the tournament pro
15
game.
15 years he was world champion, I think. I believe.
Won more titles than anybody, right?
In straight pool, yeah.
Willie was a true gentleman.
Yeah, he really was. I met him a couple times, you know, but I never really saw him. He was way before me.
Just for the folks at home and myself, now, didn't Willie play in the late 30s, 40s, and 50s?
Yeah, like that.
He didn't play, I don't believe he played in the 30s. He might have, I don't really know.
I mean, he was
played during the war years, so that's in the 40s, mid-40s.
He was a good friend of Joe DiMaggio's. Now, DiMaggio played ball in the 50s, right? Late 40s, it was 40s and 50s, DiMaggio, right? Then he was followed by
he was
Mantle,
definitely in the 40s.
With DiMaggio Mantle, that I know about.
So basically, his prime was probably the 50s, Willie's.
50s.
You know, he may have started like you did, Mike, real early in the 30s. That's very possible. Check that out.
I have pictures of him and now here. This is really unbelievable. Greenleaf. I have pictures.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
I have pictures that someone sent me, magazine articles. No, these are authentic from not Life magazine, but one of them big Look magazine,
probably,
and showing Ralph Greenleaf doing commercials there. You know, the pool players in those days were looked up as movie stars. I mean, it was totally different than it is today. Totally, 100%.
They were bigger than golf pros.
They were bigger than golf pros. And I think Chesterfield, you see Ralph Greenleaf. So, but I have a bunch of that stuff that someone had sent me of real endorsements from those guys, which, you know, then it changed, I guess, in the early 70s, I think it totally changed.
The question has always been, did the hustler hurt or help pool, you know?
I think it hurt.
Golf was kind of like pool. Willie told me that he was invited into the White House, all the great country clubs around the country, met the Queen of England. I mean, he had stature in society.
He met the Queen of England?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. He went over.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, okay. Now, so pool players had stature prior to World War II.
Right.
Okay?
It was huge.
Golfers didn't. Golfers were considered, you know, it was Bobby Jones, really, I believe, as a golfer, who kind of elevated the image and so forth. And then, along came Palmer, TV. When TV set in, golf got on TV early because of Palmer and so forth, and golf just took off, right? Pool went the other way. Okay,
Right.
now,
I see old pictures of pool where guys playing in a tournament, and it was like packed. You know, in those days, everybody wore like a suit and a hat and all. But I mean, it was looked at as an upper, well, you know, maybe because of England or I don't know, maybe the time of the century. But pool was looked at then as an upper, way above golf. You're 100% right. But I think The Hustler, I didn't like that movie because it's not true. People play for money. No, look at my thumbs. Let me see your thumbs. You got
Never been touched.
And you got thumbs.
I've
right?
never heard of no
Me
pool
too.
player's thumbs being broke, by the way.
So,
I
you know,
I've heard a few of them getting socked in the mouth more than once, but never no violence. That
yeah,
I
I
ever
mean,
known of. Over a pool game. That's what I'm talking
the
about.
portrayal that they made it look like, pool hustler, is really fictitious. I mean, that's not. But the problem is that's one of the top 5 movies ever. You got Gone with the Wind, I think Citizen Kane. The Hustler is one of the greatest movies ever made. It was a tremendous movie. However, it was so good that when they aired, in fact, I just saw it recently, they aired it so many times, it put this light on pool that we never really overcame. And I think that when Color of Money came out, it put it in a little different light, you know what I mean? Newer stars. It was similar.
here's something interesting, if I could interrupt, right? Okay, so Willie was the technical advisor on The Hustler.
And The Hustler.
Okay, working with Jackie Gleason and Paul Newman, all right? Willie handed you the throne in 79, okay?
Right.
And in 84?
86.
86, you became the technical advisor for Color of
And
Money.
Color of Money. I know it's ironic, isn't
Willie
it?
was never a money player. He was a tournament player.
Right.
Okay, he didn't gamble.
Well, but wait, now, sidebar. In those days, tournaments were, you know, they were getting endorsements. These guys were living large, the Duesenbergs, all that kind of. In our time, there was no money in tournaments until like Pro Billiards Tour and all that, even with my friend Kevin, who put a lot of money in the IPT. So what do you have to do? You got to make money. I went out and, you know, played pool for money, not hustled. But that shows you the difference. Willie didn't have to do that, right? There you
Well,
go.
he was endorsed by Brunswick.
Yeah.
He was a tournament player.
Right.
Okay, he hung around with guys like Joe DiMaggio and
I
a lot of
know.
top athletes. Okay.
Yeah.
He was on TV. Of course, he did the famous stuff with Fats
Right.
that Bill Caton and those guys put on. That was Wide World of Sports, I believe, or maybe it was CBS.
I did a bunch of those shows with them, and Willie, they were playing 9-ball in one pocket, and Willie came up to me, he goes, "Mike, how do I break in one pocket?" He had no clue. I mean, he tried to break him like straight pool. I go, no, Willie, you got to hit him over here. Am I doing this right? You know, Willie Moscone's asking me, like, you know.
So in 85, okay, we did the straight pool tournament as a send-off, okay?
Right.
And the reason why I got involved with that, quite simply, is that I was running a convention center outside of Philadelphia. I was in the real estate business, and
Right.
somehow I got into a convention center, and Willie and Dan Birkbeck and Charlie Rossetti walked in my office and asked if they could produce this great tournament, okay, back in 85 at that convention center. And I did an analysis of it. I saw that there was no money in it. I turned it down. Later on, I created my own production company, left that company, created my own production company, sent out notices to people that I had met, including to Charlie Rossetti and the Birkbeck twins, all right? And sure enough, they called me right away and said, we want to do a tournament for Willie Moscone. I said, okay, I'll produce it, which we did at the Philadelphia General. All the guys came, including you, okay? That's where I met Laurie John Jones and Alan Hopkins and Jim Rempe and all the guys.
No, wait, what year was that again? That was...
I'm pretty sure it was 85. 85
No.
or 86. Yeah.
What?
Oh yeah, it was mid-80s, definitely.
Mid-80s?
I'll get you the date, but it was 85 or 86.
Because there was well, they used to have a straight pool tournament. They either had the World or the U.S. Open. That's like Mizrak won 4 U.S. Opens in a row, 68 to 72, straight pool. Okay, so, you know, they would either do the straight pool, the World Tournament, or the U.S. Open. That was like, at that time, well, in the 70s and early 80s, that was like the event. Then the 9-ball and the 10-ball took it over. and they created the world titles. Then now you're seeing all these other guys all of a sudden from everywhere.
Everybody's got a title now. They all got titles.
Well, no, but I mean, you've seen a lot more players.
At that time, I was out throwing dirt clod fights, having dirt clod
Really?
fights and shooting birds with my BB gun.
Yeah, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot here.
1969, come on, are you kidding me?
But there
I was
was-
still a teenager.
I was
was
in
a-
diapers.
What's interesting about it is that it's funny how things connect, okay?
Right.
Because I did that tournament with Willie and you guys in 85, 86, okay? I was in the real estate business, and the guy came to me and said he wanted to promote that he had a yacht in a fleet, a charter fleet down the Virgin Islands, and I was working very closely with this guy. And he had a friend who owned this charter yacht company, okay? And he wanted a way to promote the charter yacht company, okay, to England, the population in England, Europe, and the United States, because you got U.S. Virgin Islands and British Virgin Islands, all right? So the guy came up, had dinner with him, okay? I said, look, the guy's name was Frank Jordan. It's the first time we met Frank Jordan. And I said, look, Frank, I don't know anything about the Virgin Islands. I said, if you take me down there and float me around a little bit, I said, I'll be glad to come up with an idea. He sent me a ticket, FedEx, the next day, okay? And I was down in Virgin Islands, and we were out there about 7, 8 days on one of his yachts. Couldn't come up with an idea. Of course, I was in no hurry to come up with an idea, okay? Sitting in the bitter end, which is a resort down there at the end of the Virgin Islands, British Virgin Islands. And bottom line is, I meet the caretaker for Richard Branson, who owned Virgin Airlines, Virgin Records. I met him sitting at the bar, the caretaker. And he was kind enough to take me over and show me Necker Island. When I walk into this gorgeous place, there was a snooker table. And it immediately popped into my head. The Brits play snooker, and it was extremely popular, and those guys were making big money, all right? It was Barry Hearns doing all of that, mostly, right? And, of course, I had the experience and the contacts now with the straight pool guys in America. U.S. Virgin Islands, British Virgin Islands, right? An airline, an island to do it on, yachts. I mean, it was perfect, you know. So we.
How come you didn't invite me to that one? I don't remember that. On the yacht. You
Well,
snuck down there, huh?
I did invite you. So I came into Louisville, okay, and I met with you and Rempe and Alan Hopkins and Nick Varner, Ray Martin, and Lou Butera at the trade show in Louisville in 1990, okay? And those pictures in front of you was what resulted from that. Now, the whole reason why this is relevant, okay, is because I didn't come in to do a pro billiards store. I came in to do World Team Billiards.
Right.
I wanted to do a Ryder Cup of pool with international teams, okay? But I needed to get the players unified, okay, from both sides of the ocean. Flew over, met with Barry Hearns, with Arthur Lieberman, and who was a big-time antitrust attorney with a ton of money. And John Lowry, myself, and Jim Rempe went over, and who was the snooker guy that was a friend of Rempe?
Steve Davis.
Right?
Steve Davis.
Okay. Steve met
I played
us.
him a couple times.
We had a great time over there, okay? And
Right.
Barry Hearn didn't seem interested, okay? Which obviously was not quite really the story. But anyway, we came back and we staged the first event, which was the American team during the Super Bowl that year, where Buffalo played the Giants.
I remember that because I lost on Buffalo. Yeah, I remember 100% about that. How what?
I called up Willie and I said, we'd like to make, instead of the Ryder Cup, we'd like to do Moscone Cup.
Right.
Okay? And he said, I love it. Okay? So he came down. He came down to Tampa, and then we had the ceremony up in New York. That's what those pictures are.
And will he give us the blessings to name
I got the pictures.
the
Willie
Moscone
handed
Cup?
The cup.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now you were on board at that point. I had recruited you. You were at the Vista in New York with us at that time.
You say that, but I just don't, you know.
The picture don't lie. You're right in front of the Vista Hotel.
Yeah, I saw it, Kim.
Did you really?
Yeah, you're there.
Okay.
I
Well, I know
like
for
this
sure
picture
I was in
also,
Tampa
yeah.
Bay. I know that for sure at you know, when we MacDill Air Force Base, you know, the war had broke off.
You got that jacket that you wore the other day with the World Billiard Federation in New York.
All right. Well, you have to remember 32 years ago, you know.
Did you get the ring?
Yes.
That's where you got it. Remember the rings, Mike?
Yes. How about the Pro Billiards Tour website? What about that now? We're forgetting something. All the memorabilia. You can get those rings, right? I heard.
No, you can't get those rings, buddy. No, you can't.
What? All right. So anyway, if you want to catch some, you got memorabilia. We have the shows in their entirety in the original format. Go to the ProBilliardsTour.com website. We also have, what do we have now? We have hats, shirts, right? We're going to have tips of the week. We have shoes, these hats. We also have call-ins, right? Aren't we going to be putting that in where you can email in and ask questions, either myself or Kim or Reed or other players if you have any questions about pool. Keep them small. We're going to try and answer all those. Anyway, all the information's on the website, ProBilliardsTour.com. Make sure you check it out. I think we're done here today,
Well,
right?
one second. We are going to have these hats too.
They're giving me all this.
Pro Billiards Tour. So
20 minutes. Now it's not Don anymore. Now we got the other guys over here. They're giving us all this.
20 minutes.
So what else?
21 minutes.
Let's do something else. What can we do now?
How did the Pro Billiards Tour start?
I have no idea.
Well, the Pro, you have no idea. The Pro Billiards Tour really was a spinoff of World Billiard Federation. I mean, I don't know what would have happened if you would have just not became the commissioner of the Pro Billiards Tour and stayed with World Team Billiards. I mean, I don't know what would have happened there, but when you became commissioner, everybody voted you in, okay, and you changed the landscape of pool forever. It was never...
We did.
Well, we did. Okay. Well, I say
You guys were frustrated. The truth was, he was set to retire, really.
Yeah, I was getting out of it real fast. I saw the light.
He saw the light, right? Just all the players. When I came in early 90, 91, okay, everything I heard from all of the top guys was that they were just frustrated, that the game was going nowhere, that the color of money had hit and then just dropped off the cliff.
Right. That's a shame, too, because, you know, going back, they never took advantage of that in the industry, which I understand, but here's what happens. When Rocky came out, okay, what's the guy that wears the band? Hulk Hogan, to this day is still benefiting from the Rocky series, correct? When he fought him, right? Well, that made wrestling. That's what generated. But they took advantage of that movie. But in pool, they didn't do that.
Well,
and we had the biggest opportunity on the planet.
let's go back to the inception of the Pro Billiards Tour. You were speaking about that.
Well, the thing was that I needed to get contracts from all of the top guys, okay, that they would play for World Team, for Team America, right? I needed contracts, okay? So when I came to sit down with the guys, all of the guys said, we'll do anything, we need to get organized, okay? Well, when they saw what we were putting together with Arthur and with Arthur Lieberman, John Laramie and so forth, okay? They liked it, okay? I mean, it was real. We started, we did the thing in Tampa, we did the thing in New York, and there was more to come. So it was Sam Jones who came to me with Paul Brienza, okay? I was in Reno.
The Doc.
Yeah,
My buddy
those
Doc.
two guys who came to me in Reno. I was out in Reno to get contracts signed, and they said, we got this men's professional billiard association, which was being run out of a home in Wisconsin, and you had a bank account that was minus 300, okay? And you had no organization, you had no TV contracts, you had nothing.
Well, it was disorganized. I mean, it's basically
It was totally
what it was.
disorganized,
yeah,
okay?
of course.
And I just said, okay, look, I said, what you need to do is get a name, a brand, a logo, a business plan, somebody to represent you with some business savvy, okay? I have interest here because I need you guys to be organized. If I could put both a group of events together, individual tournaments, and the world stuff, okay? Let's do that together, okay? Let's just put it all together into one package.
Right.
So at the Sands, I don't know if you were there. Did you play the Sands?
Yeah.
When?
Mike played
I played
lot
a
at
bunch
the
of
Sands,
Sands, yeah. I like Sands. I knew the owner of the hotel, and every time I went with my ex-wife then, we got the honeymoon suite, and he took care, he was a real tall guy, and his wife was she was like, I think, Philippine, I don't know why, but they really like me, and he'd always float around the hotel. You know, the owner. Yeah.
Well, did you need? You were trying to say something about the top players at the time.
At the Sands. Yeah, go ahead.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there were several of them. I mean, Strickland was one of them. Myself. Mike, and I think you didn't come on till like a year or
94.
two later. You know, Varner,
Yeah, all the
Big,
guys.
Reyes,
There's a ton of guys.
Reyes, Buddy Hall. So there was
Alan Hopkins.
yeah, all
Johnny
the top
Archer.
players were playing at that time.
I don't know if Johnny was.
Who?
Johnny Archer.
I guess he was.
Johnny Archer started about 1989.
David
90.
Howard.
Yeah.
David Howard
Oh,
was still playing.
You got guys like George Michaels,
Yeah.
and I mean, there's, you know, I
Pat
think
Fleming. Pat was a key
all
guy.
those guys. There
That
was a
started
ton of
Accu
guys.
Test.
There
But
was
we
a
had
ton
all
of guys.
kinds of guys, and anyway, from there, go ahead. 'Cause
Well,
no, because this story is interesting to me because I was a part of it, but you really put the nuts and the bolts together to make the engine run. So just elaborate a little more, if you would, please.
Of course. So the bottom line was I sat down with the guys. At that time, you remember they were playing with the women in the events.
Yes.
Ooh, I remember that.
Remember
Okay, go
that?
ahead.
Okay? And the guys didn't like it. You know why?
Why?
Because the prize money was coming out to everybody. In other words, the women played just the women and the men played just the men, okay? And frankly, okay, the guys' complaint is that the women weren't drawing any crowds. Sigel was drawing crowds and Varner was drawing, you know what I mean? But the prize money was split up and the guys wanted the money to go into their pocket. That's what they told me. I said, well,
Who told you that?
you know, I'll see what I can do about that.
Who told you that?
Pardon me?
The players.
All of them.
Players.
All of them.
Really?
Honest
I
to
didn't know
God. They complained the fact that there was just a lot of back and forth
Right.
between the two camps, okay? And it was about money. And it was about TV contracts.
So then I believe you had a meeting with the women. Is that correct?
I did. Well, I was elected commissioner, okay, which meant you're running the show. Because I told him, I said, look, I'm a business guy. I'm not a political guy. I need to be able to make business decisions so I can move forward. I don't want to get into politics with MPBA and PPPA and all that nonsense.
The A's.
All that letter crap. And so I said, I'll sit down and talk to the women. So I went to the 3 top women at the time that represented them. I won't mention names. Sat down in their suite at the Sands, you know, and I said, we'd like to sign you to a 10-year contract. Exclusive contract where you'll just play for the Pro Billiards Tour with the men with separate purses completely, okay? Absolutely not. I said, well, we're just, you know, we're trying to work together with you. We're trying to make a future for men and women. How do you, no, we want to go on our own. Okay, I don't blame you, okay? So they did. We signed a release, immediately. We kept Pro Billiards Tour. They went on their own, okay? And God bless them. So that's really how it started at the Sands back then. And then we proceeded. The first big sponsor that gave us a deal, this is what changed the game, Mayucci and Simonis. Okay, we did a Q deal with Mayucci and we did a cloth deal with Simonis. And that's what disrupted the whole industry because all of a sudden the players had a logo and we were endorsing products and all the other guys were going, don't let them do this.
Well, and why the industry and other manufacturers were a little warm about the whole deal because they couldn't tell us what to do anymore. We finally had control of our own destiny.
Yeah, I used to do something with Fred Malley, and I went up to him and I said, you know, you should do this cloth deal. When I heard, well, I was involved with that anyway.
Right, you were on the board.
Yeah, so I went up to Fred. I go, Fred, they blew it off like it meant nothing because they knew, they were thinking that's not going to happen. But then when it did happen, they all went ballistic, okay? And a lot of companies suffered. I mean, I said, look, we're going to show a cloth, we're going to show a table, we're going to show chalk, cues, naturally, just like in golf. They didn't believe that.
So after the women had gone, okay, so now the women have gone, and all the players, the top players especially, which we were a core group, there were 64 players on the deal, and they kind of followed the top players because they wanted, you know, what the top players wanted. They knew it was good for them because we were going to feed them back, you know, whatever we made, it was going to help them. So after the women were gone, they decided to go on their own, and we started producing our own shows on television. So that's why we're here now, because all of this stuff would not have been possible without the creation of the Pro Billiards Tour. Would that be correct?
Right, and the creation of Pro Billiards Tour wouldn't have been possible unless the players agreed with each other to unify.
Right.
You gave me the exclusive right, okay, to talk for you to industry and media. That was the key, okay? And frankly, that was what killed the Pro Billiards Tour at the end, okay, is that outside forces were able to break up the unity of the guys, and you had different camps. And Mike, you know that's not a new story.
Well, that's money and power. It's like anything. It's like in politics. I'm not getting into all that, but that's what it boiled down to. The other companies didn't like what was going on, so naturally they tried to interrupt everything. And what happened was the players suffered, and well, everybody did.
Well, the players stood up and said, and I'm just going to speak frankly, okay? And again, this is 30 years ago. That the entity that should be the governing body of professional pools should be the professional players.
Right.
And as you guys know, it was the BCA that billed themselves as the governing body of the sport, a pool, right? And so they looked at what we were trying to do as disruptive to that. It challenged that authority or jurisdiction, whatever it was.
Power.
Okay. And then, of course, we printed our own rule book, and then the fire really got hot, you know. And it was just one of those times that you had to break through. But the reason why it's important now, okay, is players are still looking for opportunity.
Right.
Players are still working for outside entities, okay, taking whatever deal they can get, taking any endorsement deal. They don't own any of the events. They don't own the TV rights. They don't get a percentage of the tickets. They can't sell apparel as a group. They don't have a brand.
Right.
Okay? That's why
It's back to where it was before.
And that's why we're doing what we're doing, because we want to show the history. And hopefully the younger guys will learn something from this. Okay? All right? This series that we're doing right now, the Legends of Billiards, would not have been possible if we didn't own the product, the events, and the media, the television, that we created back in the 90s.
Right, and all the stuff that I would presume, and I was told never to presume, but all the stuff that ESPN did through the 70s and the 80s, and I think maybe a show or two in the 90s, that stuff's probably all burnt and gone forever, I would imagine.
They own it.
Yeah.
Okay? But
Yeah,
see,
it's
we
packed
never
away.
gave
It's
those
probably
rights
still out
up.
there.
One of my positions was, and I took a lot of heat, was what we produce, we own. If our name is on it, if you look at the end of an NFL thing or a Major League Baseball or hockey, right? The rights are owned by the league. Okay?
Exactly.
It was, you know, if you look at apparel and sports equipment and so forth, you have official equipment of the NFL, official equipment, okay? It was, you know, normal for sports to move down that road to create revenue, to build the events and the production and the money for the players. That's what it's all about. And they fought us tooth and nail. Now, that's just the way it was in the world at that time. We were disrupting, okay? I think looking back on it now, if they could turn the clock back, they'd be glad to go back to the original days of the Pro Billiards Tour and support us, but they didn't.
Yeah, I would think so, because it also hurt them. So now I would like to touch on something, and this might be for another show, and if it is, all you have to do is tell me. So, well, he will too, I know Don. So we had Willie's permission. Here's the cup, name it after me, the Moscone Cup. Now, there was no Moscone Cup in the early 90s, except Matchroom started it. I think they actually kind of just stole it from us.
I'm not going to use that word.
Well, maybe not stole was the wrong. You could explain it a little better. But is that something for another story?
It
Another
is.
time? Or
it is.
Okay.
The roots of the Moscone Cup is a whole show.
it came from us, though. It started in America. It was World Billiard Federation.
Willie came to an event, okay, and endorsed the Moscone Cup, okay, and you got the pictures on the desk to prove it.
That's correct.
Okay, that's where it started.
Okay.
Now, how it evolved over that, let's take another half hour.
And that's where it'll end. Beautiful.
Yeah.
More important, go to the website, theprobilliardstour.com. That's going to show you everything that we've been talking about. We're going to have all the other shows in their entirety, the Legends of Billiards series. We also have memorabilia. We have cues. We have, what else we have? Tips.
We're going to get those hats that Kim's
We're
wearing.
going to do that hat. We're going to burn that hat.
Here, get you one of these, Mike. There you go, buddy.
Anyway, make sure you go to the Pro Billiards Tour website, probilliardstour.com. Answer all your questions. Keep checking it. We have a lot of things happening there. Hope you enjoyed this one. See you later.